Hello, my deplorable Neanderthals in exile. This is part 2 of my interview with Eric Metaxas. Don't forget to subscribe to his channel, link down in the description. And don't forget to go to his website, ericmetaxas.com, and sign up for his newsletter.
Baby, go, go, go. Strong words, strong mind.
The rebels that are left to our prisons.
And now that I won't put on trial, and that's why I'm in exile.
Oh, this is such an honor just to get to talk. I talked to you when you came out and gave a talk on Luther at our church. By the way, I'm going to intro this whole thing with just pumping people over to your YouTube channel.
Thank you.
That's
You're so kind.
Guys out there, people who love my show, you'll actually love Eric's even better. He has half my subs, and that's a YouTube crime we have to fix right now. There's a link down in the description.
Thank you.
So you're one of my favorite people in the whole world.
Okay, now stop. Can we stop there?
No, I have to keep going. You're also one of the smartest Christians I've ever read. I'm not going to pump your book because they'll get that on your channel. But like hearing you talk, I've been listening to you now for over 20 years. I was introduced to you through listening to the Hugh Hewitt show. And Socrates in the City, and just, you were doing Mike Lindell interviews before it was cool. You debated the great debate with David French, which I really want to start with. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we're Christians, we're conservatives, and there's other conservative Christians that are never Trumpers,
right.
And they piss us off. But they make a point. What is the philosophical difference between a never Trumper, where just whatever he's doing, they can't get past, and the Christians that are like, no, this guy is, it's not that he is, has manners. It's that he's here to save the world.
Well, I honestly think it's a combination of things. I remember hating Trump 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I hated Trump.
Me too.
Why did I hate him? Because he was a vulgar SOB. He was everything that's wrong with the culture, blah, 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 blah. So I get that. But the weird thing is that I listened to him on the stump and I just thought, holy cow, he gets stuff that no one else is getting, that I didn't even dream any politician ever could get ever. And I thought, this is just crazy. Could it be possible that somebody who has profound common sense and business acumen, it's like talking to a mechanic or something. They know how to do stuff, and we need somebody who really knows how to do stuff. And the proof is in the pudding. You can't fake it in business or whatever. You have to be able to produce. And I thought this would be just nuts to have somebody like that running. When he would say things ostensibly just to get elected, a lot of people said, oh, he's just saying that to kind of get the evangelicals in his back pocket or to get the conservatives in his back pocket. Watch, he's a Manhattan liberal. When he gets in, he's going to disappoint everybody. Well, obviously he didn't do that.
Yeah.
Why didn't he do that? Many reasons. I think it's because people do change. And I really do believe that on the issue of life, he changed profoundly when his son Barron was born. I was speaking to a friend who, I can't remember who it was now, but who knows Trump. Actually, no, it was Roger Stone. And he said that Trump is very shy about talking about it, but that he had talked about it with Roger Stone, and that something completely changed because when Barron was in the womb, when Melania first knew she was pregnant, she never planned to have a child. He absolutely didn't plan to have another child.
Yeah.
And so the most obvious thing, if you're not a serious Christian or somebody who values the unborn, it's the most obvious thing. It's legal. Everybody does it. You go get it taken care of. Who wouldn't, right?
Sure.
Well, in this case, something happened and he thought, I can't do it. She couldn't do it. They didn't do it. And then when the child is born, boom, your mind is blown because you realize this human being whom I love is a person. And I could have ended their life without even a blink.
He was the first president to say beautiful little babies. he started saying like beautiful little babies and
Yeah.
things like that. Just really clear.
Well, the reason he says stuff like that is because he doesn't have the people around him who tell him, you can't say that, Mr. President, because you'll offend this group and that group and this. We've got a lot of our constituency, blah, 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 blah. He doesn't care. He just says it. And that's another reason so many people love him, is because he just says stuff. Now,
okay, but let's go back to the Never Trumpers real quick. I'm
Yeah.
talking about David French, Phil Vischer, whom we've both worked with,
Yeah.
John Piper, conservative evangelicals that even though they know he's done three constructionist judges, they're
Right.
like, that's not enough. That's not enough. I can't morally vote for him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, of course it's now comedy that even with these 6, conservatives, or at least 5 genuinely conservative constitutionalists, originalists, they're doing some strange things, but
Yeah, they're
the
screwing
fact
us
of the matter
over
is-
the election. They're screwing
that?
up. They won't even look at the election
Right.
results.
But here's the main issue, but putting that to the side, what everyone knew or ought to have known in 2016 was that there can't really be anything much more significant than putting somebody on the Supreme Court who has an originalist view. If a president gets to do 1 or 2 of those, that's monumental, especially because of where we are in the culture, because we've slidden so far left. The only guardrail we have before going over the cliff might be the Supreme Court, who will rule, even in the most basic issues of religious liberty or life or whatever it is, that if they don't even take a real stand, but simply go with the basics of what the Constitution says, that's the guardrail that the founders put in place. So the idea that we say, man, we don't care. I just want people to stop and think. And I dare them to think, what if Hillary Clinton had been elected, and instead of 3 originalists, we had 3 Sotomayors, 3 Kagans? Just think right now where we would be. You then have 20, 30 years of people who are activist judges who seem genuinely to have an animus against traditionalists, against Christians, people of faith, and have an animus against.
And their goal is to change the DNA of the Constitution, which is the DNA of
right. And
America.
That's the opposite. So they've got an animus against the Constitution as it is. I just want to say to my friends, to Phil or to David or whatever, I don't really comprehend how you don't see 3 justices not being originalists, but being Sotomayors or Kagans or whatever. I don't really understand how you get past that. There are a lot of other things to talk about, but that's kind of like strike 3 right there. Like what? There's something else to discuss. That's huge.
That alone, and the issue of life, and these are alleged pro-lifers even, I'm just kind of going, you're not helping the cause. Like the cause.
Well, yeah, but you know what I think maybe
is bigger than manners.
Doug, I think that they don't believe in the cause. In other words, I think there are a lot of people. This is kind of what's been so interesting to me about Trump, is there's been a great sifting going on, and you sort of see where people come out, and that was hidden forever. I mean, look, I voted for McCain, I voted for Romney, I voted for these people, and now you look back and you think, ooh, they're skunks compared to like any rock-ribbed Christian conservative. Like they're.
And we fought hard for those guys too.
Right. So
we didn't have the imagination to even understand that someone like a Trump could have run.
That's the point. That's exactly.
We were settling for Romney.
No, that's exactly right. And so I think there's been this sifting, and so I'm just guessing that there are people who don't. They have to wave away certain things. In other words, there's certain pieces of evidence and logic that are incontrovertible, and the only way around it is just to go, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Don't you believe it? Here's what it would be like. It would be like saying, don't you believe God can do anything? So it's sort of like saying it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. God can fix it. And I think, well, on one level, that's true if you're really a person of faith, but you don't tempt fate. In other words, you don't say, I'm going to pick up this poisonous snake because don't you believe God could make it impossible for me to die of being bitten? Don't you believe God could do that? Yes. Okay. So you pick up the snake. Well, that's tempting fate in a secular way. And scripturally, it's tempting God. You will not put the Lord your God to the test, Jesus said to Satan. So the idea that we don't not going to care about anything, we're just going to do whatever we feel like doing, and then we're going to demand that God do a Red Sea miracle on my behalf, of religious liberty or whatever it is. And I think that's not rational. That's like saying that, I mean, and this is what John MacArthur seems to have said it recently, but John Piper, it's almost like they so divorce the gospel from the world in which we live that they forget it's supposed to inform how we live and vote. It's supposed to inform us, but they act like, no, we're just going to be religious beings. We're not going to be citizens or anything like that. And so these issues, I guess I have to think of it this way. Forget me. What about all the poor kids in urban areas in New York where I live? What about their future? Don't I have to choose someone who's going to give them a better future, who's going to give them an America that I think will give them a fair shake? Or do I say, I don't care, it's all going to burn. I don't care what happens to me. But what about them? I have a responsibility to them. So if socialist policies are coming in because I was too lazy to think it through, I'm on the hook for the socialist policies. I'm on the hook for the Equality Act.
Okay.
I'm on the hook for all that stuff.
I want to talk about
they
that.
They just avoid it. They just don't deal with it.
Okay. So I blame them. Fine. They're scum. I want to talk about, that's what I think.
I can't go that far publicly.
Yeah, I know. But I'm everyone's insulting voice. Put it on me.
Well, I get angry at them, but no, but I mean, it's an interesting thing.
I don't deny their faith. I don't deny their faith. I think their tactics are terrible.
Well, at some point, faith becomes irrelevant. You think like, well, I hope I see you in heaven. I mean, I will pray to that end, but I know what you're doing isn't informed by faith. Just because you claim it is. A lot of people do things, they say it's their faith, but it doesn't.
I could talk to you about so much of this, Eric, including a lot of the charismatics that you have on your show who were literally given a message of back-to-back Trump administrations. But we'll have to do that another time. I'm going to get you back on. But real quick, because you talked about the voters, as a citizen, what should our faith look like? We have work to do. And it's not to start a civil war. It's not to complain and give up and say, oh, the voting is corrupt, so it's done. What do conservative Trump fans need to do for the next 2 to 4 years on the ground? Because we have to do something. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. Here's what I think. I think God's hand is on this country. I don't think we're alone. Yeah. And I think even though it's a terrible thing that Biden is in the White House and that in the natural, it should be the end of America, I believe God is hearing the prayers of the saints and will graciously help us. I don't know what that's going to look like. Yeah. And I would not rule out Trump having a second term by any means. I actually think he will, because I think that there are so many millions of Americans that love him and have never seen anything like him. So I would, put money on that.
Yeah, so would I. But to be clear, in 2024, because
you know what, I will not even rule out something strange happening before, simply because of this.
I mean, I believe in miracles. I'm saying it could happen, but give me the lay of the land on how it could work.
Well, no, I don't know how it could work, but here's what I'm going to tell you. This is all I know. What happened in this election was disgraceful. Mm-hmm. What has happened since the election and since the inauguration of Biden has been disgraceful. Yeah. And I think when the disgracefulness reaches a certain level, the people of America rise up. Now, what does that look like? To me, it doesn't look like armed insurrection, but it does look like people have an increased appetite for justice and truth. They're really angry that Cuomo and Newsom and Whitmer and others are behaving this way, the high-handedness of the left, and it's all of a piece. But I really think that—
And we're not going away. It's not mellowing down.
Going away. It's not just that we're not going away. We're going to get stronger, because the contrast between what we believe and what we're seeing enacted gets greater and greater. But so what I'm saying is that when I look at the optics of the election. Okay. No one has convinced me that it was legitimate. Nobody has convinced me of that. And I know plenty of people that are legitimately sickened by how it went down. Now, if you don't listen to those people, if you say, shut up, there was no evidence, shut up, shut up.
You're a conspiracy, blah, blah.
I don't think that the way the whole thing has been processed, the way the courts have dealt with it, the courts refused to look at the evidence. I honestly think they're scared to death, including the Supreme Court, scared to death to enter these waters. And if they have an easy out, a legalistic out, oh, we're not going to hear this case. We're not going to look at the evidence. And then it's like, check, done. They didn't have to do their job. They have a little gimme. They can get out of it. So I don't think the American people really feel like all of our concerns. I mean, people don't need to like Mike Lindell, but what he put out in that Absolute Proof documentary that he filmed, I'm just stunned that people would say it's all nonsense. Yeah. No, it's definitely not all nonsense. Some of it might be nonsense, but it's definitely not all nonsense. And why aren't people, if they care so much about unity, looking into it and answering those things? I honestly think that when people tell you shut up, if you don't shut up about this, you're going to get canceled. That's the big red flag to me. They're hiding something. They're lying. And in America, you don't get away with that. You might get away with it for a little while, but people are not. People in this country, or enough of the people in this country, understand what freedom is, and they're not going to let you get away with that. But
how about we put on our science hat, though, and dive in, and even a leftist or a Democrat could say, you know what, we're going to go into that Mike Lindell information and we're going to dismantle it. Where's even that?
No, but that's exactly what I'm saying is like, there's enough stuff in there that the fact that they're not doing that and that they canceled him, that's not what you do. Yeah. It's kind of like
they call them names and punish them
murder,
with a 1.3
and they say there's no
billion.
evidence. There's no evidence. But the person you accuse of murder took the kids and fled the country. You'd say, well, that doesn't look good. That looks really bad. That looks like they're guilty. Oh, we know they're not guilty, but it looks like they're guilty. Maybe we should look into this a little more. We're not doing that. But I want to say something else. The Hunter Biden laptop, where I really lost everything. I mean, it's one thing to see the media has been left my whole life. It went wildly left under Trump. I've never seen anything like it. It was disgraceful. Yeah. But I will never in my life have seen anything like what I saw when the Hunter Biden laptop information came out. The fact that the media refused to cover what, under any definition, was vitally important to our national interests. When you're talking about China and Ukraine and possible complicity with their policies for money, just the hint
and
of
Biden
that,
a 10% owner.
People should be crazy over that. There is pornography on there, just in terms of blackmail. The president's son films himself in pornographic acts, posts it on Pornhub. It's on the laptop, and
smoking crack.
And well, that's nothing. I'm talking about horrifying pornographic acts filmed, put on the record. And then the president says, my son's, a fine young man, and da-da-da. I just thought to myself, this is the kind of thing, whether you're looking at malfeasance with the Chinese, whether you're looking at taking billion-dollar bribes from the Chinese, how is it conceivable? I don't care if you love Joe Biden. How is it conceivable you give him a pass on that? When they gave him a pass on that, I honestly said, that's the end of journalism in America. That I've never seen anyone do anything like that. They all refuse to cover it. So
remember how for years they used to say, if it bleeds, it leads. Hey, we're not being unbiased. If it bleeds, it leads. Well, this thing is bleeding all over the place.
This was bleeding. This was a bloodbath. This was a flood of blood. And I've never seen anything like it, that they ignored it. And so Jack Maxey, who was on my program, I mean, it's on my YouTube channel, Eric Metaxas Show, he has been shut out. He has the laptop, the Biden laptop. He got it through Rudolph Giuliani when he was working with Steve Bannon, and he's scared for his life. And so he thought, if I'm caught with this, I could be killed. So he has been, because we're talking about the worst actors in the world, the kind of people who kill for a living, spies, whatever it is, this is what they're looking for. So he put it on the web. So I put it out on Twitter that you can download the whole thing. So now it's out there. but he's been coming forth with this, trying to get people to pay attention. And I think to myself, listen, folks, I don't care what you believe politically. If you have an ounce of integrity and you don't care about this, you are living in bad faith. You are refusing to look at something which could destroy the Western world as we know it. China can take over. They have no values except power. And the idea that the media, including Fox or whoever, that they're all just playing the game, that's despicable. And I really don't believe we're at a place where God, who has had his hand on this nation, is going to let this go. And I don't know what's going to happen. I don't care. My faith is in God. It's not in America. It's not in the president.
Right.
But at the same time, I just have a sense that there is enough, way more than enough, where somebody is going to have to act. I don't know where it's going to come out, if it's going to come out again, you know, in the Epstein case, or if it's going to come out. But there's stuff out there. It at some point it has to come out. And actually, final point, I tweeted it this morning. It now seems obvious, 47, 48 days into this administration. Seems obvious to me. Mm-hmm. Biden is definitely not leading the country.
Yeah.
That's clear. Okay, now, if he's not leading the country, he is being led. By whom is he being led? That person is running the country. Those people are running the country. The American people definitely did not elect those people to be president and to lead the country. That's unconstitutional. We're seeing it every day. It becomes more and more obvious. Something has to give.
Well, on that, one final closing word. I have a lot of great people in my audience. Among them are people who are hurting. They're lonely, and that's why they're watching YouTube. And they may not know Jesus.
Right.
What's your final word to those people?
Well, it's listen, if you're miserable in any way, God is so wonderful that he could turn your misery into a good thing. That's how amazing and miraculous God is. And it happened in my life. I told the story yesterday. I was preaching at a church here in New York City. I have a book out called Fish Out of Water, where I tell the story of my coming to faith, but it's really the
meaning of life.
What's that?
Your search for the meaning of life.
Right. It's called Fish Out of Water, a search for the meaning of life. And I tell my story. So I told the story yesterday in this sermon, because it was only through going through misery that I finally was possibly open to maybe God is there and maybe he's the answer. Maybe. I doubt it, but maybe. Well, as a result of that, he came into my life. And I think that now more than ever, it's so clear to me that the way things have kind of lined up, it's Trump, it's America, it's freedom. There's all these things have kind of lined up where people of faith, most of them, they kind of sense this, that what things have certainly lined up. And so I think of people who maybe aren't people of faith, but who get the other stuff. They get freedom, having leaders that really care about the working man, having leaders who have common sense and who are willing to say the thing that's true that everybody else says you can't say, whatever. I think people who get that are well on their way to being able to see that behind all this good stuff that they like and they get is God. There's no way around it. I say it boldly and bluntly because it's been proved to me. It's not like this is my theory. I hope it's true. It's been proved to me. I myself have experienced miracles and miracles. And I think that I've become much more bold in saying to people that I guarantee you that Jesus is the answer to everything that you're dealing with. Now, think about that, folks. I know it. I've lived it. I've suffered a lot. I've gone through a lot of stuff. And I know for a fact, Jesus is the answer. I have no doubt about it. I've experienced him viscerally. This is not an intellectual thing. A lot of people have a kind of an intellectual faith. No, I'm talking about a simple faith in the God of the Bible who loves us, who died for us on the cross. That is the solution to everything. And if you accept him and live according to his rules, sexually, in every other way, he will bless you no matter what. Even if things are tough, he'll bless you. He'll walk with you through the tough stuff. And I really do believe part of what's going to happen as a result of the tragedies in our nation right now, I think revival is coming out of this. I think people
I've sensed that too. I sense that too.
Nationally, I think
I smell it coming. I'm telling you.
Actually,
I smell it coming.
So I'm hopeful that people who've been kind of hanging back, they're going to finally get like, you know what, all those like nuts who appreciate Trump, they're like more than half of them are crazy Christians who love Jesus. That's kind of interesting. It's interesting that the people on the other side tend to be people who are secular, who sneer at the people who love Jesus, just like they sneer at me because maybe I didn't go to the schools that they went to or whatever it is. I really think that there's something to that, right? So when we're talking about populism, it's a good kind of populism. It's kind of the populism that, you know, when the people saw in Martin Luther, they saw a man speaking the truth with coarse jesting and with a boldness and a courage, but a brilliant genius as well. They were like, we've never heard anybody saying what we're thinking. We've never had a champion who goes out there and says what we're thinking against the corrupt elites. It's never happened before. We're with that guy. That was what happened in the Reformation.
Eric Metaxas also wrote a book on Luther, so look it up. It is fantastic. I heard you preach on it. It's fantastic. I'm going to wrap this segment up. Yeah. I'm going to have you back on the show anytime you want, Eric. Please come back on. But mostly, I want you guys to hear it clear from us. You are not designed to carry your sin. Don't carry that burden. Jesus is here to carry that burden. Give it to him, and he will forgive you. I'd like to thank you for coming on, Eric, anytime, anywhere.
We'll do this again. You're really kind to let me rant on. But
I love it.
I'm grateful. I'm really grateful to you.
I'm your fire hose. Come over here. We'll turn it on. Everyone's going to sub to your channel. The Eric Metaxas radio show is down. The link will be down in the description. Yeah. We're going to pump you.
Actually, let me say too, my website is just my name, ericmetaxas.com. Okay. And I say that because if you sign up for my newsletter, you'll get all kinds of stuff because YouTube can shut me down. They have shut me down. They don't let me post certain things. So
I gave that message to my people. They signed to my newsletter. I've got 32,000 names on it because I told them if this channel goes down, go to the newsletter. So I will also put the link to the ericmetaxas.com website. Go. You guys know how to sign up for the newsletter. Put your email in, you hit submit.
If it doesn't work, send us an email. We'll do it for you.
And then if you get separated, because all of our channels are going to get killed any day now, then he'll be able to find you.
That's right.
I'm Doug TenNapel in Exile.